is no place on Earth quite like it. Here, the astonishing is commonplace. Turtles strike like snakes. And tarantulas share their homes with tiny frogs. This is a realm both beautiful and brutal, where adaptation is the key to survival. This is the wild Amazon. The Amazon River Basin. By any measure, it's one of the greatest natural habitats on Earth. The world's largest rainforest is watered by the world's mightiest river. It's home to the greatest diversity of living things anywhere. And dozens are still discovered every year. But the Amazon is changing fast, threatening the animals and plants that have thrived here for millions of years. Their future hangs in the balance. Black caiman are among the Amazon's most ancient inhabitants. These living fossils have remained almost unchanged since the time of dinosaurs. But recently, a strange behavior has been observed among caiman. It happens during the dry season. Between June and October, when rain falls only a few days a month, giving the Amazon a chance to dry out. River levels drop, leaving shallow pools along the edges of waterways. The black caiman are quick to seize the opportunity. Birds take notice too. Black skimmers move inland from the coast, and egrets gather by the hundreds. They are all here for one thing. The fishing is excellent. The pools have stranded huge shoals of fish, and the Amazon's largest predator closes in. During the dry season, the caiman gather in large numbers. But what they do next is even more extraordinary. This strange behavior is still not fully understood. Caiman are known to jump and slap the water as part of a mating display. But here, it's transformed into a synchronized and deadly ballet. The caiman appear to be working in a pack to round up their prey. Panicked fish are caught by the hungry jaws. Those that escape are picked off by the egrets probing the shallows, and skimmers targeting the surface. The fish don't stand a chance. The Amazon basin dominates the northern half of South America, stretching over 400 million hectares. Weaving through this hothouse of weird and wonderful life is the Amazon River itself, flowing for more than 6,000 kilometers. The creatures of this realm are part of a complex web of mutual dependence. Their interlocking relationships have evolved over millennia. One of the strangest and most mysterious involves a very small frog and a very large spider. It is behavior rarely seen before. This dotted humming frog lives on the forest floor, a dangerous place, full of potential predators, including this burrowing tarantula spider. This nocturnal hunter, with a leg span of up to 16 centimeters, can easily catch mice and even small birds. It kills by injecting its prey with venom. The poison first stuns, and then, while the victim is still alive, dissolves it from the inside, so the spider can suck out the remains. Any creature would be keen to avoid such a fate. It seems the little dotted humming frog has made a fatal error in its choice of refuge. A tarantula's lair is a potential death trap, especially one filled with hungry babies. For the frog, the outcome cannot be good. Once it's within range, the spider will pounce and inject its deadly dose of venom. But not this time. Hairs on the spider's legs allow her to detect chemicals on the frog's skin. Perhaps she senses that the frog would make a dangerous meal. So why welcome it into her burrow? It seems this is a mutually beneficial arrangement. Frogs eat ants, which in turn prey on spider eggs and spiderlings. And for the frog, there's total protection. No other predator would dare take on this mother or her babies. Nearby, another remarkable story of cooperation and adaptation is unfolding. It involves a tree, a bee, and a razor-toothed rodent. A forest plant and two animals earn South American economies millions of dollars a year by doing what comes naturally. Brazil nuts really do come from Brazil, and most grow wild in the Amazon. But they depend on pollinators that have evolved with the necessary skills. The Brazil nut tree's pale, fleshy flowers have tightly wrapped petals. Prying them apart to reach the nectar inside takes a lot of muscle. Only the biggest and strongest bees can do it. For its efforts, the bee is rewarded with a sip of nectar. But as it struggles with the flower, it's also dusted with pollen. When the bee visits other Brazil nut flowers, the pollen shakes loose, the bee gets a meal, and the flowers are fertilized. The third party in this tale is a little mammal whose efforts ensure the Brazil nut tree lives on. An agouti is one of the few creatures in the rainforest with strong enough teeth to break the outer shell of the seed pod. Its reward is a hearty meal, packed with essential fat and calories. A single pod can contain up to 25 nuts, way too many for the agouti to eat in one meal. So he hides the leftovers. The agouti buries his treasure all over the forest. Some nuts will remain in the ground to germinate and grow into the next generation of Brazil nut trees. Ancient relationships like these are essential to the life of the Amazon. They have made the forest what it is today. But can they endure as the forest changes around them? Much of the Amazon basin lies in Brazil, where deforestation is a major problem. Trees are being burned to clear land for farming and cut down to meet the demand for lumber. Up to 80% of the logging is illegal. Now the forest may have a fighting chance with the help of an armed task force. The government has declared war on the illegal loggers. But protecting an area larger than India is almost impossible. Every day, the Amazon still loses 19 square kilometers of forest. And besides the trees, much more is lost. A complex living community filled with undiscovered secrets that could benefit all mankind. Among its other wonders, the Amazon is the world's medicine chest. Scientists already know that over a quarter of the active ingredients in cancer-fighting drugs come from the rainforests, even though they have only tested 1% of the plants. Some plants are packed with deadly compounds. They're the source for poisons like cyanide and addictive drugs like nicotine and cocaine. Countless other plants use poisons as chemical defenses. Unripe forest fruits are bitter, toxic, and normally indigestible. But macaws have little to eat during the dry season. They use their strong beaks and agile claws to extract whatever nourishment they can. And then have to deal with a belly full of toxic plant matter. Like other parrots, they have found a solution. At this time of year, parrots will travel more than 15 kilometers every 2 or 3 days to a particular bend in the river. They're heading for clay banks, exposed by the river as it dries and recedes. Somehow, the birds have learned over time that clay neutralizes the toxins in their diet, which makes it an essential ingredient for surviving the dry season. The cliffs also provide the perfect place to meet and greet others of their kind. Macaws are the largest and one of the most beautiful parrots in the world. In South America, there are 17 different species, all with stunning and brilliant plumage. Highly intelligent and extremely sociable, they travel together in large flocks as they search for food. They carry on a seemingly endless conversation of loud squawks. Socializing is more than a way to pass the time. It's a chance to find a mate. For macaws, this is an important choice. They mate for life. A faithful partnership that can last for 50 years. Macaws aren't the only creatures that must deal with plants that are poisonous, tasteless, or just difficult to eat. It's a common problem here, the plant's defense against voracious vegetarians. But few creatures are as ingenious as the Amazon's most numerous inhabitants, ants. The leaf-cutter ants have been hard at work here for over 50 million years. An ant carefully measures out a portion of leaf using her leg span as a guide. Then she removes the piece using jaws that vibrate 1,000 times a second. Leafcutter ants have an elaborate caste system defined by the size of the ant. The largest are the soldiers, who stand ready to defend the long lines of medium-sized foragers as they carry the leaf sections back to the nest. The foragers lift loads up to 20 times their own weight, the equivalent of a human carrying a small car. Smaller ants act as additional guardians for the workers, ever vigilant, even when they're hitching a ride. The leafcutter's underground nest can measure over 15 meters in diameter and be up to 5 meters deep. It's home to up to 8 million individuals. What happens inside is extraordinary. Within the nest, leaf portions are handed over to the smallest caste, the gardeners. They chew the leaves into a sticky mass and store it in special chambers. Another chamber houses the colony's most precious possession, an edible fungus. A gardener cuts off a piece of the fungus and carries it to the new stash. In no time, it will begin to grow on the leaves. It's this fungus, not the leaves, that feeds the ants. And they cultivate it as carefully as any human gardeners. It's an amazing adaptation, one that has taken millions of years to perfect. Unlike the leaf-cutter ants beneath their feet, the martin